But today, what we're doing is actually I have not I've not done this with anybody. So
well, they all say that.
So it's yeah, you usually everybody else has had this before it gets to you, but because things have been slightly different this week, so I've just got to try something in the background a minute.
Where's Henry?
Apparently he's joining us on Zoom on YouTube this week. So this is why I've got to set up the other computer a minute to check on something.
All right.
He's not joining us this week, which is a bit of a bugger.
Well, I won't be here next week or the week after because we're going to Yorkshire and Norfolk, and we're going to York. So.
Oh, oh, yeah. This is why you were asking the places to go to.
Yeah, I booked everything up. We've got to book everything now.
Yeah, and it cost you more than a couple of quid then, did it?
For me, it cost us 140 quid each for all the visiting the Minster, the Jorvik, the Railway Museum, Clifford's Tower, where else? The Minster, the museum, Clifford's Tower, Jorvik, and the Railway Museum, plus other things we want to see. Yeah.
How many days are you staying there for a week?
5 days.
You're going to bloody need it, mate.
I know that. Eleanor's never been there, so it's a taster for her.
Well, well, to be honest with you, I've been to York a number of times. You can never get around it, no matter what you do.
No, I know. Yeah.
So I'm just going to.
But we're also going to see the grandchildren. So.
Oh God! So that's going to take about. That's going to take up a lot of time.
Well, no, it'll be 4 days in Norfolk, 4 days in York, and then Yorkshire, and then 5 days in York.
So you're doing your grandchildren, and then you're doing Eleanor's grandchildren. Is that right?
Eleanor's children in Norfolk, Kings Lynn. Then we're going to Yorkshire to see mine.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, we'll stop off in York for 5 days.
Oh, that is 2 weeks then.
I'll miss. I'm coming back on Thursday, but I'm travelling on Thursday, so I can't log in.
Hmm. Well, and unless you've got a really decent phone, you could Eleanor could do the driving and you could sign in. Do you know? Weirdly enough, right? I did that very thing yesterday. I because somebody couldn't join a class at 7 o'clock and I was traveling back. I basically, because when I'm speaking to somebody, right, and it's completely hands-free, my focus on the road is a lot better. Yeah. It's almost as if your thoughts are actually into the conversation. Your eyes are on the road, rather than you being all over the place when you're driving along.
Yes.
When I say all over the place, not sort of, but I can remember thinking, I thought, right, yeah, no, this is, I'm dealing with this. It's fine, and it it worked quite well. So
yeah, great. Okay.
So, because this topic today is quite new, I don't have many illustrations. So what I'm gonna, it's more of a talky thing because
okay.
So what I'm doing is making sure that this is set up for Henry, and I'm just gonna double check one last thing. Oh, amazingly enough, we had some turkey eggs laid.
Yeah, they're funny, aren't they?
They're weird shaped. The thing is, we put them in the incubator, but the thing is, I don't know if anyone would buy turkey eggs, would they?
Well, you don't see them for sale because they're not. You can't mass produce them like chicken eggs.
No, there's no way you can mass produce them.
No.
We've got one hen. We've got one hen. She's laid 2 eggs in 4 days, and that's all she's ever laid, as far as we know, in her entire life.
Yeah. But I understand it's quite nice to eat.
Yeah, seeing as I've not actually looked at the price of them or anything. But the thing is, we wouldn't be selling them because Our turkey, our male stag turkey is so big and docile. It would be good to breed from him, you know.
Yeah.
He's not good. All I've heard about turkeys are they're quite vicious.
Right.
But ours isn't. He, as you know, I brought him in a couple of times, and he is so docile.
Yeah.
Do you know that bloody Jim? Right? He keeps cracking jokes in the class about in Lancet Major about you know, it'd be good. Baldric would be good for Christmas and all the rest of it. And people started turning on him in the class, and they said, I think one person said, "Well, how would you feel if somebody turned around and said they were going to eat your cat, Jim?" Do you know what I mean?
He's a bit inept, isn't he?
It's just like it didn't get it. Do you know what I mean?
Why he posed that question to you on the end of last week about the stalagmites. I mean, he could have looked that up on Google like I did.
Yeah, pillar. That's
what was the purpose of him asking that question? I'm trying to test you. It's something you probably wouldn't know offhand.
No, yeah. I'm not. No, I'm not a geologist. I admit that, and it's not the question I would know off by hand.
It wasn't relevant really to what we were doing, which is when you ask questions, you want to know about what we've just discussed, not something a little bit obscure. So that's why I think he's I think he's a bit daft. You know, he gets on my nerves. Don't mind saying that. You know.
No, yeah. So what we are going to do is I want to do the I want to do something mundane, and then I want to link it into what we're doing, because there's this wonderful thing that was printed in the newspaper, and I was quite shocked, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to get this up here, and this is completely new technology, because this is a new Zoom, this is a brand new phone, new everything. So we're going to be looking at a place called Brixham. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to double check everything's okay, and I'll be back now. Bear with me. Not doing that. Okay, so let's get started. So we're like last week. We're gonna we looked at a place known as Kent's Cavern, and if I look at this and I share the screen, which is that there. Hang on a minute. I might come a cropper straight away. What you can see is the new screen of the computer, right? Of the new screen of the phone, right? So I'm just going to double check something. And actually, the images that I want to look at are directly in front of us. So we're going to look at this locality here. So we're going to do that there. And is that showing?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Look, what is it?
Yeah, it is a strange image. This is actually some
sort of mummy.
Yeah,
that's the cave. Now see the cave and the men. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
This is actually Kent's Cavern.
Oh, that's Kent's Cavern. Yeah.
Oh no, start again. No, sorry. This is Brixham. We did Kent's Cavern last week. This is Brixham, which is really near Kent's Cavern, right? And it's if we the one thing that we can do, as I say, I'm just learning the technology on this one. And if we type in the word Brixham, and Brixh, Brixham Cave. There we go. And then we go on to that there, and we can show you exactly where this is. So there it is. It's down. It's basically very near the site that we were looking at last week, which was Kent's Cavern. And again, going back to this image again, and that is the archaeologist William Pangeli. Now, reason why I'm going to say this is, we'll start off a little bit mundane, is because the location of Kent's Cavern, strangely enough, the location sort of disappeared, and now it's been refound in the past few days, which is quite interesting to say the least. So when we're calling it Brixham Cave, it's also known as Windmill Hill Cavern, and Philp's Cave. But what we're interested in is the name Brixham Cave, because that's the title today. Because so when we do the article of the week that was published yesterday, when I say Brixham, this is all the same place, all those different names. So is a limestone cave system actually in the town of Brixham, Devon itself. It's actually under the town. And the amazing thing with this cave is it was found by complete accident. Now, one of the things I was very interested in last week was this guy William Pangeli, and there he is there. Hang on a minute. There's William there, and this guy was still about doing archaeological work in 1892, so he just didn't give up. Now, out of everyone that I've ever examined and mentioned in archaeology, this chap by far has to be what I would call one of the fathers of archaeology. But until last week, I didn't know this William Pangeli existed. And this individual in 1858, when he's in this cave at Brixham, not Kent's Cavern, but in this cave at Brixham, which is very near Kent's Cavern, this guy was up against people still believing that the stuff he was finding in caves like this, which is Brixham, found, and he did the examination here really first before he did the full-scale excavations at Kent's Cavern. People would basically say that what he was finding would be no older than about 6,000 years ago, when he was starting to think that the archaeological evidence that he was finding were tens of thousands of years old, if not hundreds of thousands of years old. So he was going against the grain. He was geologist stroke archaeologist. And the one thing that he found in this cave, clearly in 1858, was proof of the coexistence between human beings and extinct British fauna. So the images that we're seeing are at the advent of photography itself. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure this, I don't believe this was taken in 1858. It must have been taken in towards 1865 or something like that, when photography was a little bit more advanced. But whatever photographs we're seeing, which are quite contemporary, and I might actually, it's saying that this is actually a postcard from 1900, but Pangeli was dead by 1892. So I would presume that this is actually from 1865, but I could be. But the main thing is that the importance of Brixham and what this was telling Pangeli. Now, the biggest problem, it's been closed. This itself has been closed to the public until its sort of rediscovery a couple of days ago, or whenever it was discovered. The importance of this cave is not to be underestimated. So what we know, it's approximately 30 meters above high water mark, and it's the length of the cave, which is more familiar with the lengths of the archaeology of the caves at the Gower, is 96 meters into the rock. So when we were talking about the Gower, we sort of said 50 meters, 20 meters, and whatever. And the one at Goff's Cave went in for 2 miles. So that's basically the difference. So when this cave was examined by our friend William Pangeli, it was examined on the backdrop of a local builder known as John Lane Philp. Now, this is why it was known as Philp's Cave as well, right? John Philp, who was a local builder, he was actually working on a house in Brixham at Mount Pleasant Road. And when he was working within this cave at Mount Pleasant, well, no, when he was working at this house at Mount Pleasant Road, he was banging his pickaxe into the ground, and suddenly a hole opened up, and halted the construction of the building or rebuilding this house at Mount Pleasant Road, in Brixham. And the area of Brixham that this was found was Windmill Hill. So in other words, the names that we got for this cave, Brixham, Windmill Hill, are explained by what we've just said. So some people referred it after the builder that actually found it in 1858. Some people referred to it as the area of Brixham that was found. Other people referred to it as Brixham itself. So that's why we've got all these little bits of names. So he incidentally, or we could say accidentally, come across this cave, and William Pangeli become massively interested in it, because William Pangeli was one of those new waves of individuals that was being inspired by the likes of Charles Darwin, who obviously we know his theories about evolution. And what we basically see is the huge level of evidence that was being found in here. And what we can basically say about the huge level of evidence that is being found in here, which was something that led Pangeli to have an interest that would last into the 1890s, and an interest to excavate at the likes of Kent's Cavern later on in 1865. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy with what we're doing today. So it's the piece that we're going to look at, discuss not at this second, but the piece that we will look up after this, right, is the rediscovery of the cave. Now, if the cave has always been known as in existence in Mount Pleasant Road, in Brixham, I think the other piece that we're going to look at is a link to this, which I haven't fully read, so that'll be a bit of an exploration as well. So going back to the excavation, in excavating the cave, William Pangeli used a new excavation technique, which he would then use at Kent's Cavern, and he would evolve that excavation technique. So in excavating the cave, they used a grid system. So in other words, everything within that grid would be accurately recorded, and an exploration technique that had never been used until that time. So what we're talking about is Pangeli, for the first time, used an archaeological excavation technique that had never ever been used anywhere. This was new. This was new archaeology. And if we want to chuck in this, in 1836, there was a chap known as Tomlinson, who at that stage had only evolved the 3-age system, which was Stone Age, Bronze Age, and the Iron Age. And the artifacts that Pangeli were finding in this cave at that point, he referred to as Stone Age, because it wouldn't be until 1865 that a new word would be introduced, that Pangeli would then use on his excavations from 1865 to 1880 at Kent's Cavern, known as Paleolithic, which is a term that we use today. So that word in 1865 was introduced, Paleolithic, but it wasn't available at Pangeli's time, 7 years earlier when he was excavating in here. Now, Pangeli's work was doubted. In other words, some people said that what he was finding was fraudulent. Some people said that what he was finding didn't make sense. Some people said that what he was finding doesn't fit the narrative. And as I said, the narrative was that some people still believed in the work of Reverend Buckland. And Reverend Buckland was saying in 1823 in his groundbreaking work, The Diluvian Flood, that looked at the foundations of prehistory and all the rest of it. So what Pangeli was saying from his evidence that the archaeology around him proved that the Earth was created a lot before the year 404 BC, and it would be 7 years later that it would prove comprehensively that the work within this cave was all bona fide, because the work at Kent's Cavern, he would work through those layers. So we mentioned William Pangeli a fair bit last week. So he found in his excavations, he found what would be described later on as 36 Paleolithic artifacts, including a flint knife, which is all really interesting stuff. What Pangeli didn't have back then was access to radiocarbon dating. In fact, he would never have access to radiocarbon dating. But when we want to compare what was being excavated at Kent's Cavern, Pangeli would see at Kent's Cavern that the layers would date back to 500,000 years. What we do know at Kent's Cavern, back to last week, there was a carving by a chap by the name of Hedges into a stalagmite. And that stalagmite itself had the date 1688. And when Pangeli saw that stalagmite with some layers on top of the carving from 1688, he was able to deduce the age of the layers and how old layers would be. So therefore, he's able to date what was going on at Kent's Cavern very precisely. But he didn't have that knowledge 7 years earlier. We've all got to learn. Now, what is massively important with these Paleolithic artifacts is that the association these artifacts have man-made objects or man-created objects, because obviously a human is not going to be able to create flint, he's going to be able to nap it. The flints themselves would have a direct connection with the fossils of extinct animals, which prompted Pangeli and his and some of his more skeptical members of his team to dig deeper for proof that humans lived amongst extinct British animals. So this is really important. So we've done that garbled because it was garbled. What up until that point, nobody believed that human beings would ever live alongside saber-toothed tigers, mammoths, hyenas, giant Irish elk, huge aurochs. But what the evidence was showing was that the flints were actually being found alongside the remains of extinct British fauna, extinct British giant animals, like the mammoth. So this questioned everything. So what we could say, it was not only questioning Reverend Buckland's assertion that Bishop Ussher was right, that the Earth was created 404 BC, and this is what he's saying in 1823, but people had no idea that people lived alongside these great big beasts. So this is 2 points. So on both accounts, Pangeli and his team were actually proving the narrative to be wrong. And actually, the one thing is, back then, is if somebody printed something in 1823, it might take hundreds of years for people to change their minds. And the great example of that is the King Charles's start again. King James the First of England's Bible, which I do believe was printed in 1604. So nobody really wants to question the Bible. They still don't question the Bible. And actually, Goff, there's something I want to tell you before we go on to the press thing, which is linked to the Bible, but we'll do that in a moment. So after studying the flint artifacts, Pangeli's team found the proof that they sought for, that humans and extinct British animals had once lived amongst each other, which was unbelievable. But people said they were making it up, because how could they prove that the human artifacts were actually buried before or after these remains of these extinct animals? And this is what Pangeli was up against. So in other words, what we're saying is this: I've just seen a UFO. Have you got a photograph of it? No. So therefore, you've not seen a UFO. The metaphor for that is Pangeli's evidence was archaeological evidence. So archaeology is very destructive. So when you dig into a layer, you're destroying all the layers above it to get to what you're trying to find. So the problem is, Pangeli was up against saying, look, we found this in layer whatever, and people saying, well, yeah, that's fair enough, but how can you categorically prove that these flints were buried alongside remains of extinct animals? How do you know this isn't in fact all convoluted and put together and made up? So he needed this evidence. It would only be in 1865 that we'd get it conclusively. These remains of these extinct animals would be the remains of woolly mammoth and auroch. However, there would also be evidence of spotted hyena remains. Hyenas living alongside human beings. Now, the problem is that hyena remains were being found on the Gower, even by the likes of Reverend Buckland. Evidence that Reverend Buckland would be dismissing as being anything than accidental, right? So spotted hyena, for example, the spotted hyena evidence. We do get spotted hyenas on the planet, but we didn't have spotted hyenas in Great Britain, people say, at the time that people lived. So this is all massive and very important evidence. So what I would like to do is I'd like to muck around with the screen a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to go out a little bit. We're going to see where we are in the country. And if we do this, and a good thing about doing this is that I can type in that. What I am going to do is in bold a minute. I'm going to type in see if we can get a map of all these little caves, which I haven't done. As I said, you're my little guinea pig today. Historic caves in Torquay Bay. Was it Torbay Bay? Is it Torbay Bay? Is it Torquay?
Torbay.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Is Torbay rather than Torquay? Torbay.
Torquay's the
Okay.
town.
Yeah,
The
got it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's see if we can get images. To see if we can get a map, because it's it's nice having all these little images, but it'd be nice to have a little map of where all these. Right, if I type in locations, I wasn't going to do this, but I'd like to see if we can get something with everything on. Locations. Brixham. You know, sometimes there are wonders about the internet, but you can never get what you want. You can never always get what you want, can you, Goff?
No,
There's that thing at Tor Bay, but we know where Kent's Cavern is. It's just trying to get where the others are. Hang on, if we type in the word map, maybe we can get a map. Oh, actually, what we could do is think. Well, we could work out. We know where Brixham is because that's on the opposite side of the bay. From Kent's Cavern. Right, okay. And it's not helping us out. Oh, hang on. You got Paynton. You got Torquay. Hang on a minute. Are we going to get it? Nope. 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 No. No, not going to do it. It's not the detail I need. Torquay. No, we're not going to get it. Anyway, what we've got is oh, there we go. So if we type in that one there. So Brixham, so on the opposite side near St. Mary's Church there, that's where you've got Kent's Cavern. So there's Brixham. Right, so we've got the relationship between these two, occupied at the same time. So if we then go to if we then type in this, right? If we then type in this is where I'm going to go with the article. Hang on. We type in this now, and we do Brixham, we do Brixham Cave. If I type in Rediscovery, then that should take us to the article that I'm just about to read out. Rediscovered. So we type in that there. Right. See, it's actually saying this thing about being rediscovered here, which we're going to actually go on to. And if we go down there, does that look like it's in the middle of Brixham? It don't, does it? There's no house above it. Right. So that's what we're going to look at. Yeah, that's what we're going to look at next. Right. So now this is the thing I was going to mention to you, right? I was going to hang on a minute. Just seeing if Henry's on. I'm just going to mention that you know, the other day, this is how people start believing in things, right? The other day I started thinking about this what happened with Will Smith, right, in the Oscars. He's on the edge of getting, you know, an award. You know, it's the equivalent in acting as being knighted, you know. So he gets an Oscar. Now, very few people in history of acting have ever received an Oscar, right? Some have received more than one. Some actors who should have received it never have. But Will Smith got his Oscar. But minutes before, he slapped that guy across the face, right? And somebody basically another actor, Denzel Washington, said that the devil got into him, right? And you know, it was like one of those moments that things went wrong. And I just started thinking, and I started thinking, well, actually, I've had moments in my life where things have gone really, really well, and then you do something really stupid, and it wrecks everything. And you start to think, well, how does that happen? And you start to have beliefs like devil and God, right? And then that goes back to what we've been discussing with people's unbelievable faith that the earth was created in 404 BC, and they will do anything to preserve that belief. They will do anything to say that that's it. There's nothing that will go against that. Right. And what Pangeli wanted to do in 1865, he wanted to just say, look, we do have the facts, and I just want to show you how we know that things are a lot older than we give them credit for. So this cave itself, this itself, the article is dated when I said it was a couple of days ago, a day or so ago. This was the 11th of April 2022. That we've got these headline news, and it says, "Lost ancient prehistoric cave first discovered by a Cornishman is found again," and it is found again. Now, you know, it's quite strange that we've got Brixham, right? But I do believe I know where I've made a little mistake. There are two Brixham caves. There's the Brixham cave that we've been talking about, and another Brixham cave. So this is why this looks completely different. This is why this looks completely different. And actually, the one that we've looked at is referred to as Brixham Cavern. This is referred to as Benchbone Cavern of Brixham. So there's two caves known as Brixham Cave. So this is why I've made that little mistake. But this is one that I don't discuss. So this is going to be interesting. So let's learn something together, Goff. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I made a mistake because it makes it even more interesting. So this itself is not the one that we've just been discussing. This is an entirely different cave. And you know, this is rediscovered by a chap by the name of Darren Murray, right? And he set out to rediscover another cave at Brixham, the other Brixham cave that was discovered by William Pangeli. Now, this is as it is. We'll read it out in full. A lost West Country cave first discovered by a Cornishman, which helped to rewrite the textbooks on the history of mankind have been rediscovered. And that's what we've been just talking about. Benchbone Cavern, which contains the bones of an Iron Age, an extinct woolly mammoth. So here we go. And bones of an Iron Age man, an extinct woolly mammoth or mammoths, has said to have been quarried away a long time ago. So it's believed that this was destroyed and lost. However, it was one of 4 caves in Tor Bay. So we've looked at the one Kent's Cavern last week. The other one is obviously in the town of Brixham itself. There's this one, and there's another one called Ashhole Cave, which we're also going to talk about today, where the earliest bones of modern humans in Europe were found by the greatest Victorian Cornish scientist, William Pangeli, who was described by some as one of the earliest fathers of archaeology. And by me, I will say he is by far one of the earliest fathers of archaeology. And you know, in doing these classes, I discover things that I didn't know myself. I had no idea that William Pangeli existed. And I had no idea that lots of archaeologists throughout history have used his excavation techniques and given the credit to somebody completely different. Because the grid box square excavation method, which we mentioned last week, is where you excavate in a trench, you excavate the layers, and you preserve the layer down the side. So whilst you're excavating, horizontally, you can read the layers that you're excavating horizontally, vertically. So in other words, layer 1 relates to the vertical layer 1 and layer 2 and so on. So that this is the method that he would devised. However, the excavation that he had devised, we give the credit to the likes of Flinders Petrie in the late 1890s, who was a massive archaeologist that we talk about a lot, and the one that you will be familiar with, and the one that I will be massively familiar with, Sir Mortimer Wheeler. Animal, Vegetable, Mineral, and all those programs that he put on television in the 1960s and 70s, which is the same programs I watched, which you watched. So this cave itself has now been rediscovered by a chap by the name of Darren Murray. He said he was astonished to find part of the structure still exists high up on a cliff face on private land near Oxon Cove. The cave is still visible and walled off. It is fantastic. Inside, there will be evidence entombed of cavemen and huge wild Ice Age mammals living and occupying the area around Brixham Harbour. Can I this is typical, isn't it? How the hell are you going to get mammoth bones in there? But obviously they found them. But obviously they've been taken in there, because I can't imagine a mammoth's going to get in there. It's not big, is it? It's not big. To have all 4 bone caves still in existence is mind-blowing, with all the quarrying of the Brixham area. The concentration of Ice Age habitation sites, and particularly Neanderthal habitation sites within Tor Bay. So there you go. You were right. It's amazing. I'm still looking for my woolly rhino tooth. This is one of the Brixham bone caves that William Pangeli researched. Not at the same time as he excavated the one in the town of Brixham itself in 1858. But this was researched and explored in 1875 and was said to have been quarried away. And this Murray chap says, when I went to look, I found that there is some of it still there, the cave. And this is quite a nice little piece, and we're doing it all. We're definitely doing it all. The cave is still visible and walled off. There is fantastic evidence. So in other words, whatever's in that tomb was probably left in the 1880s or something like that. There is fantastic evidence entombed of cavemen and huge wild Ice Age mammals living and occupying Brixham Harbour. To have all 4 bone caves still in existence is mind-blowing. We've said that. With all the quarrying of the Brixham area, the concentration of Ice Age habitation sites. Oh, we've already done that. Sorry. Bench Bone Cavern of Brixham once contained the remains, as our chap Pangeli said, the remains of hyena, woolly mammoth, and Neanderthal man, and are now on display in Torquay Museum. Is one of the 4 bone caves of Tor Bay, researched by William Pangeli in 1875 and thought to have been quarried away many years ago. Pangeli, who was born in Looe, in southeast Cornwall, was as controversial in Victorian times of Darwin, as we've mentioned. We keep mentioning this. Together, their work went against the Bible teaching. A spotted hyena jaw and spearhead from the cave were found there in 1885, and were then later dated, obviously 100 years later, to date to 37,500 years old, which is a little bit newer than the finds at Kent's Cavern, but only by a few hundred years. The jaw was found above the spear, proving that man lived before the spotted hyena and obviously used the cave. So we're getting layers, those layers of history. During the Victorian era, Brixham's 3 fossil bone caves, Windmill Hill, which is in the centre of the town, which we've mentioned, Ash Hole, which we'll also look at. This is Bench Bone Cavern, which is also in Brixham, and Kent's Cavern that we did last week in Torquay, attracted much scientific interest. The caves were largely forgotten, especially since the once popular show cave Windmill Hill closed in 1977. They were also overshadowed by the size and fame of Kent's Cavern. Here we go. But thanks to an exhibition in Brixham Museum about the bone caves, the importance of the caves was once again revealed. Fossil discoveries made in the Brixham bone caverns contributed to today's knowledge of the extinct prehistoric animals that once roamed Brixham, including woolly rhinoceroses, we haven't mentioned that, cave bear, we haven't mentioned that, and spotted hyena, obviously before 12,000 years ago. So there's wonderful evidence, amazing evidence. Joe, I've not actually read this. Ice Age fossil mammal teeth, dating from 56,000 years old, so even older again, were donated to, I think, the Brixham Museum. I think that is. I'm not sure. It doesn't say. In 1945. And you know, this is massively interesting evidence. I gotta have actually shared that with you because I didn't know any of that, and I've gone into this week sort of learning as we go. So obviously by Tuesday this is going to be perfect. Really like doing that. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a break, and we're going to get off that image. And as I say, I'm still learning this new image. It's very different from the other one, but it's much easier to navigate actually. So there you go. Hang on. And what I was able to do, was, so hang on, if we do that there, we can have us both on the screen at the same time. Amazing. So anything you want to add, Goff, on that?
Yeah, just clear up that you've got Kent's Cave.
Yeah.
And then you've got 2 or 3 other caves in Brixham.
3. No, you've got 2 in Brixham. You've got Windmill in the centre of Brixham, and outside Brixham, you've got this bone cavern.
Right.
So you've got the 2 there, and you've got the other one that we're going to do is Ashhole.
Ashhole. So there's 3 plus Kent's Cave.
Yeah, Kent's Cavern. So there's altogether 4.
Right. Yeah. And I'd say the quality of the new phone is much better than the other one.
Yeah. Can I explain what was going on? Right. I explained this on Wednesday, and I may as well. I think I explained it on Tuesday as well. For the best part of 3 months, the quality was declining. So Tuesday I would slowly be getting interruptions. Wednesday it was absolute dire, and on a Thursday it was still okay. So I actually thought that I had convinced myself that it was to do with bandwidth. In fact, I was being told that on a Wednesday evening between 6 and 7 it was because too many people were using it, right? Using around here. So when I went to Barry, this was about 4 weeks ago, I had a perfect class from Barry, so it proved that the point was that it was to do with bandwidth, but I was very wrong. And when it got to last Thursday, I don't think this wasn't very good last Thursday, because I think you had to look at the images and use the phone or something. I think we did anyway.
Yeah.
Can't remember exactly what we did, but anyway, the point is that I had already made the decision to get this phone. So this had actually been delivered to Barry on Thursday last week. And then I was told the real truth by about 3 separate people, 2 professionals and somebody else. And they all said the same thing. We originally bought this phone. This was purchased by Archaeology Company in late November, early December, 2020. So it managed to get us through the whole of last year. But mark my words, because it started to fail over the past 3 months, I was then told that iPhone deliberately make these phones so they only last a year. Now, this phone itself, I'm still, I and you and everybody else are still going to have to pay for this phone for the next 2 years. And what Tesco said, they said, oh, what we'll do, right? If you send us 250 quid, we'll give you a brand new iPhone, right? This is the thing. It's a con. iPhone deliberately make these things so they only last a year, no matter what they cost. And it proved it. It proved the point. So I've got this phone now, which is a Samsung, which I'm assured does not have the same faults with this iPhone, because I thought it was everything. But this iPhone itself, I can do everything with it except Zoom. And so what's going to happen is everything's going to be done on the iPhone, and then Zoom is just going to be used on this device. There's nothing else going to be on it. So when anyone phones in on this device or texts, it's deleted. So it doesn't use up any memory, and any images on you are deleted and all sorts of things. So that's basically what happened. So in other words, don't get an iPhone. I don't know if you own an iPhone, but don't get one. It's a big con.
Yeah, well,
yeah, go on.
I've had one for what must be 6 years now.
An iPhone.
iPad, and it's fine.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I'm not. Unfortunately,
I don't use it as much as most people, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what it is. But the main thing is, if you're using something like Zoom, it was starting to decay.
Well, I heard the battery goes very quickly.
And the battery's starting to fail as well. So
yeah, I'm not surprised by anything you've said. It's not unique to iPhone, is it?
No, it's not. It's the way of the world. It's the way the world's going. So anyway, so what we're going to do now? We're gonna take a little bit of a break.
Okay.
Yeah, I need a cup of tea and a donut, and we'll be out for about 10 minutes, I think. So that'll be fine.
Hot cross bun.
You're having an hot cross bun. You. Hot cross bun. How can you have an hot cross bun? You can't. It's not allowed. And a partridge in a pear tree. La 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 la. On the day of Christmas, my true love said to me, "Four college birds, 3 and 10 and a partridge in a pear tree." Turkey eggs. Oh my God.
And my lord wanted you a beauty.
Well, if you wanted to buy a turkey egg, it'll cost you £4 each.
Wow.
And why don't we eat turkey eggs? Well, I think you're probably going to be completely on this one, but I'm gonna have a quick read anyway. For me personally, I would agree with you. They're so difficult to create. By all accounts, they taste pretty good. So why don't we ever see them?
It's because it's to do with the productivity of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they don't roost like chickens do. They lay on the ground, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For one thing, turkeys lay much less frequently than other birds.
Yes.
Turkeys lay at most about 2 per week, which is going to make it and you know they eat a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, very expensive to raise. That's it. You've answered it. So those are the two reasons. Why do I not put enough water in this bloody thing? I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Are you looking forward to Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought you would be. But
Yeah,
I knew you're a bit of a Christmassy lover. Do you know, actually, you know this ash hole cave that we're going to do, right? It's quite a big one. I didn't expect that. Anyway, oh, hang on a minute. Just sort of. So we've done that. We've got to do ash.
I looked up Kent's Caverns, and it's like a real sort of circus. You know, you can buy tickets and get a gift shop, cafe.
Are you planning to go down there then?
Yeah, well, I might look it up. Yeah.
I think that'd be ideal. At least you'll know. At least you'll know everything about it.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
What was interesting with Neil Oliver's program was he started with describing the cave in Gower.
Yeah.
And he had to go down on a rope. He had to abseil down to the cave.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, for what we discussed, would way back in the 19th century, would they have gone down on a rope? How did they, you know, it's...
You can access the seaside way, but it's going to be very sort of you know, there's all sort of algae and everything on the rocks. I think that's basically the problem.
All right, but they didn't say that, and I thought that it's just to make it a bit more dramatic, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to be careful with these TV programs.
Yeah, and this is Neil Oliver after all. He's as he's as brash and creative as I am. Anything to get a photograph in the newspaper.
Well, he makes it very interesting, you know. In fair dues to him.
Yes, he do. I do. You didn't used to be a fan of Neil because I used to think he was too pretentious. But then again, I'm quite pretentious, and I actually, he's actually his opinions on COVID are very much the same as mine. So we talk the same.
It's over.
It is over. It is over, and I was yeah. I just have to keep my mouth shut most of the time. And we've got ash hole next. So.
Are you sure you're saying that correctly?
What, asshole? You know, I gotta look. You're not. You know, this isn't a Jim thing now. I just say it as it is, Jim. You asshole. Yeah. The thing is, I say it to his face. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's yeah, he really annoys me.
Yeah, I know he does. I know he does.
And Karen's laugh. I don't mind Karen, but it's a laugh that goes through me like a. She's very nice.
The thing is, right? The thing is, if it wasn't for Karen, we wouldn't have Jim there, right? And Jim and Karen, right, are two regulars. And you know, I have to respect that. And if you know, if Jim said something out of order, and if we asked him to leave, then Karen would leave. So that would be two people. It's just not. It's not doable. So.
No, you handle it. It's not the end of the world.
No, it's not. It's not. So Jim has made other contributions as well. So he has offered to help me with photographs and stuff. But he is actually a photographer at the end of the day. So I've got to respect that. Whereas he can be a pain in the ass, but he can be also very useful. So I've got to respect that.
Well, you've got a varied demography there with people, so that's good in a way.
But mind you, can you remember that guy who come along? I'm not going to say who. There was this guy who come along once, and he didn't pay, and he was a right pain in the bloody arse.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember we had some nice people. I mean, Steve and Pete.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dennis.
Dennis, that goes without saying.
It was, yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the we've only managed to get numbers back now. We've only managed to get pre-COVID numbers back, but not in the classes. They've spread out now. We've got a Barry class that is twice as big, and we've got a brand new class down here. So, but we haven't actually recovered the original numbers of the classes that we had.
Great. Oh, it's a pity.
So, yeah. Anyway, back now, and we'll crack on with Ashhole.
Pardon?
Oh, you could shut up as well. Bloody loud fucking things, these are. Bloody loud. I'll give you a word of warning about this next one. I've never looked at this before either. Oh, but it's all good. So, did you actually have a oh god, what was I going to say? Did you actually have a hot cross bun?
No, I'm not allowed one.
Why not?
Well, I'm on a diet. I've been going to Slimming World.
Are you having another half?
No, I'm serious. I've lost over a stone and a half.
Oh yeah, you told us last week, but you're
So,
taking this seriously, are you?
Well, you have to lose the weight, don't you? So I will have a hot cross bun tomorrow in Norfolk. I'll have one.
I can't have one, mate.
I've been
I've got to have
beans and stuff like that. Salads. No sweets, no nothing like that. No beer, no bread.
Oh, no beer.
Well, I have 2 beers on the weekend.
So if you're say out with Alan, right, and you're there for like 2 hours, right? 2 beers ain't enough, is it?
Well, he went out on Friday and he had 5 double scotches. He was drunk. And now he's found out he's got a heart condition.
Oh.
Actually, we're talking about you on yesterday, wasn't it? At my MOT.
You're always talking about me.
Liz was asking where you were.
Was she seriously?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I thought she was supposed to be writing to me.
She said, "Where's the professor?" She calls you, and I said, he's doing important research in the west of Wales, where we don't know where.
Yeah, I am actually. I am doing important research in the west of Wales. So, no, give her my love anyway. You've got to.
Just your love.
That's a song, isn't it, by the Bee Gees? How does it go? No, it is a song by the Bee Gees. It's in my head. No,
How
it is
deep-
called How Much Is Your Love? How Much Is Your Love? I'm sure it is.
How
By the Bee
deep is
Gees.
the love?
That's the one. How Deep Is Your Love? That's the one. Oh, hang on a minute. I gotta get some lyrics up here now. You've done it now. How I gotta do this. How deep is your love? Talking about completely random things. Lyrics. How deep is your love? Here we go. Gotta do this now quickly. By the Bee Gees. How does this go? I know in your eyes in the morning sun, I feel you touching the pouring rain. I can't do that. No, I don't know. I don't know. I can't even do that. All right, here we go. Hang on. How deep is your love? I really mean to learn. I don't know. I can't even do it. Right. Okay. So what I want us to do now is I want to do something familiar to us all. Ashhole. It's not that funny, mate. Right. Okay. There's where Ashhole is. So it's near Brixham.
Well, you haven't got the map up yet.
Oh, cry! I'm not even screen sharing, am I? What a knob! I call myself a knob, not you. I know who is a knob. Right.
There's
Okay.
a lot of caves around that bay, aren't there?
There it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's another one that I've come across, Devil's Cave, but we got to keep to the four that we've mentioned, otherwise we'll go all over the place. So this is opposite Tor Bay, in the south, right? So we've been looking at the northern bit, and this is the south bit, right? So sorry, I just saw my 5 sheep just racing over the hill. I don't know why. Anyway, so this is I've lost the plot now. Anyway, so we're gonna have a look at a few images. Hang on. It's great, this one. It really is. Look at that. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. Do you know what, right? Do you know what? I've been starting to have this itch the past few weeks. And the itch is to say organize maybe a field visit to these things. You know, as universities do, they say, all right, we're doing a subject now. We'll sort of is going down to Tor Bay. Could it be done in a day?
Yes.
So we could technically visit the site of Brixham in the town, even though you can't get down to it. We could visit the site of the Bone Cave, because we know it's there. We could do that. We could go into Kent's Cavern and we could go and have a look at this.
Yeah.
I think we should maybe start thinking about this. I think we should. Anyway, so what I've got is a lot of gubbins I'd like to do. And we've got this as a little bit of a backdrop. So, like the other caves, this is also a limestone cave system, a Carboniferous limestone cave system. And as I keep saying to people, you've got the good old carb lime, as it's called. If you're a geologist, they call it carb lime. And what happens as the carb lime was created 350 million years ago, it's pushed up out of the water, because limestone's formed in the sea. It's pushed up. It creates sort of islands and land masses and mountains and all the rest of it. That erodes away, and in doing so, that creates caverns and caves. And it goes then in amongst that, sands and muds build up in those holes, and it drops down back into the ocean again. Any holes and stuff are then filled in with lias limestone 150 million years ago. That carb lime comes back up again. It's all the soft rock gets eroded out of the very hard carb lime, creating caves like this. This is Ashhole Cave. A cave system. There is evidence of human habitation at least since the Neolithic times, and we've got earlier evidence as well. And archaeological excavation has been conducted with several artifacts found, and it has been a scheduled ancient monument since 1966. Test state. to it. It's very very important within the archaeological world. So as Ashhole Cavern is reached by approximately a 50-meter walk, so it's doable through a woodland and undergrowth. Hey, I tell you what, Goff, right? If we take Jim with us, right, we could accidentally lose him in the woodland. The cave is situated within limestone rock, and it consists of a chamber and several fissures and several smaller chambers. It sounds a bit like the caves down the Gower, actually. It sounds a bit like Gowery-ish, actually. There are two entrances into the cave, so this is obviously one of them. The naturally formed entrance is at the bottom of a sinkhole. So this naturally formed entrance at the eastern end of the main chamber, and a larger entrance created by a breach during quarrying in the 1800s is on the north side. Hang on a minute, is this? Anyway, this is one of the entrances. We don't need to be particular which one it is, because this is new to me. So what we want to look inside. Hang on a minute. That's getting a little bit further in. That looks like the one that's been damaged through quarrying, actually. So we'll go with this one. Oh, hang on a minute. It is two different ones, isn't it? Hang on. That's like that there. No, that is right. That's the one I said at the beginning. And then you've got the other one, which has been damaged through quarrying, which is that one. Ashhole. There you go. Apart from the large main chamber, there are several small chambers that we already mentioned. One has a large quantity of loose rock within it, and this chamber also extends upwards to a smaller chamber underneath which a ladder helps gain access. So there you go. And there's lots of other sort of erosion evidence in there. So what we're going to do, we've got quite a lot of stuff I want to talk about. So this is what we're going to do. It's quite a lot, actually. History. There is evidence that the cave has been used for shelter by humans since the Neolithic and the Bronze Age in particular. And they've found several artifacts from the Bronze Age within this cave. Now, what is absolutely massive with this? Now, we haven't mentioned this with Brixham. Both are the ones at Brixham, right? We mentioned this with Kent's Cavern, but there's Roman evidence in this one as well. Do you know when we discussed this, there's lots of Roman evidence with the caves on the Gower. So Roman burials within this cavern, and Roman burials in the form of cremational urns. So these cremational urns themselves would date back to the earlier Roman period. And my notes actually do say that. So several fragments of urns have been found in which have been found ashes and fragments of some of those bones in amongst the ashes. We do believe that these actually date from very, very early on, and in the Roman era, in the 54 and sort of 58 AD period, which is quite precise. And these were discovered in 1831. So people have been actually digging within Ashhole since at least the 1830s. And we've got two major excavations, one in the last century and one major excavation in the 1830s. So this is a name that I've come across, but I can't remember which cave I've come across this one. In around 1830, there was an excavation undertaken within this cave by a Reverend Light. Now, this is really interesting. This is very interesting, this point. Reverend Light, Henry Light, L-Y-T-E. Well, this is very interesting because last week, when we looked at Kent's Cavern, the name McKerney rang a bell. It was he wasn't a reverend, he was Father McKerney. So he was a Catholic. He was excavating in the 1820s, 1824, 1825, after Northmore's work in Kent's Cavern. Now, he was a religious man. He was a father. He was a Catholic. This guy is Reverend Light. He's excavating here in 1830. And whereas Reverend Buckland was working in the Gower in the 1820s, 1823 to be precise. So it seems that the people who are actually digging these things are actually religious men. In a way, what they're finding challenges their teachings, their theological teachings, where Reverend Buckland was very clear that he was right. Reverend Light is excavating here and giving us some rather interesting evidence. So when we click on this Henry Light character, I'm going to see what we've got. This might actually be a bit slow. Right, Reverend Light, he was actually an Anglican. I'm seeing if there's anything about his findings within this cave. He lived at Brixham, so he was able to look at this, and at Brixham he discovered human remains and the pottery that we've discussed. So, and also the Roman finds. And he was described as a very handsome man. Okay, fair enough. So if we go back again, he had bronchitis. So what we then got in 1832, you've got a certain Octavian Blewett, which is a very interesting name. All these names of people researching these caves earlier on. And Octavian Blewett reported there was a tradition that the cave was once open to a much greater extent. And that this is true. This is one of the early things saying that obviously because of erosion, we've lost a big chunk of these caves, which is what we're saying with the erosion, with the caves on the Gower. I haven't actually mentioned it with these lot, actually. The first step in the excavation was to find a very early passage to see how deep the cave had been. Blewett concluded that there was no reason to believe. It's talking about various different passages and various different reports. So what we've got this Blewett excavating there, seemingly in 1832. Blewett went on to report that next to a shaft that was dug into the lowest part of the floor of the cave, after 4 feet of rubbish had been worked through, a layer of bones was discovered, which was found to cover the whole of the floor of the cave at about the same depth. Now, this is interesting. This is very, very interesting because of what they're talking about. And it's not what we've talked about elsewhere. So let's read that again. Excavating, he's talking about the layer being rubbish. Right, so does that mean that it was mixed up rather than set layers? Because he then goes on to say that after the 4 feet, those bones consisted of sheep, ox, rabbit, goose, chicken bones. So that means that that means there's an answer to this. This is good. This is good. This is good work. That means that this isn't very old. The evidence that he was finding at that stage, not discounting anything else in the cave, finding at that stage wasn't that old. He did a little bit of research and he found out that the vast quantities confused the excavators, but they later discovered that a large military encampment had been held on the neighbouring down for the whole of a summer. And the weather being extremely wet, the soldiers had eaten their meals in the cave, which accounted for the accumulation of bones, which is great. That's really good. And the reason why that's really good, it proves, even in the 1830s, that people are able to understand that where you got layers of like modern animals, that's a layer that's more recent. So therefore, if you dig a lot deeper, they're talking about a shaft dug into the cave. Where you dig a lot deeper, you're going to come across evidence that is a lot older. Now, that might seem obvious, but back then, that was revolutionary. So even though we're not talking about an excavator like Pangeli, right? This is 30 years before, well, this is 25 years, 20 years before Pangeli. He excavated down 20 feet deeper. So we've dug 24 feet so far, 20 feet deeper, and there were the remains of a human skeleton. Amazing. A human skeletal remains found in here. Great, love it. And what we're going to do, if we hang on a minute, look at that there. It's huge, isn't it? You can understand that. There it is. Wonderful. It's massive. That's quite. It's not. Do you know, if we go back, Goff, right? That doesn't look that big, does it? But when we do that, it's a huge cavern. You can understand where soldiers would have gone in there. It didn't actually say when the soldiers were there, though. But obviously, there's a layer. Immediately under this, under the human remains, they found charcoal and ash and half-consumed bones mixed with broken pottery, which proved the cavern. So now there's half-consumed bones. I'm presuming they're animal bones. And this is very interesting, and I've not read this. The pottery was Roman, so we now go back. So it's amazing this that we've got layers. One second, I just got to mess around with something a minute. We've got layers. We've got 24 meters depth, and we get Roman stuff. So the very old stuff must be a lot deeper than that, we presume. So Roman pottery was found 24 meters deep, and an urn, a cremational urn. Several human skeletons were subsequently discovered together with some sling stones, pieces of brass and ivory. So it's not massively ancient, and pottery of a finer texture. But although another chamber of the cavern was excavated and the shaft in the floor sunk to a depth of, you'll never believe this, right? They dug 70 feet. Christ almighty. I don't know how deep 70 feet is. I know, it's 22 meters, but that's deep, isn't it? Christ almighty. They dug 70 feet. It's saying nothing else of particular interest was discovered, and the original floor of the cavern was reached. Oh, no, was never reached. The workings having been carried out in the vast fragments of rock which had fallen into the cave from the sides and mouth of it, and the excavation among the loose stones became too dangerous. No lie. 70 feet. Light's research established that the cave was the burial place of the Roman garrison, interestingly enough. Now, more pottery fragments, flint, and a Roman coin were found in the cave earth between 1965 and 1967. Most of the pottery was found to belong to the Bronze Age and was assigned to around 3,000 years ago. It was discovered that the cave had been used in the Neolithic period as well. Numerous artifacts recovered from the cave are on display in the Brixham Museum. So that's that there. This is the thing. That's that there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can find anything else about Ashhold that's a lot older. Now we're going to go with this one. This will be an interesting one. Right? I want to look at this one a minute. This is from English Heritage. Right, it's a scheduled ancient monument. It has been since 1966. Right, we're going to see why it's a scheduled ancient monument. Why is it scheduled? Okay. Overview. Come on, let's see. Okay. Oh God, it's not telling me why. Okay. It's protected. It's not saying why. Hang on, let's just see why. I just want to see if there's any much older stuff. Much older stuff. Oh, right. Okay. Now, this itself is actually a press release, right? And I've not read this before. Goff, can you hang on a second?
Yep.
Stay there. Hello.
You've got loads of wood here this morning, planks of it.
Yes.
And your father's taking the nails out of it. Do you want any of these planks?
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yes.
install
Yes.
it.
Yes, we do. We do want planks.
Yeah, well, I'll leave them here. When
Uh,
you calling, you don't know. Do you?
It'll be tomorrow.
All right, then, because you can pick out what you want then. All
Brilliant.
right?
Okay, great.
There's loads of it.
Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
All right, then. So,
Anyway, go.
two envelopes here, not handwritten ones.
All right. Oh no, that's brilliant. I'll pick them up tomorrow. I'm teaching at this minute, but that'll be great. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. 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 Sorry about that, Goff. Is my mum. Goff, there is something interesting. There is something massive about this. You know the reason why we're doing Ash Hole Cave is it's meant to have Paleolithic stuff in it, and it's meant to have really old stuff in it. It does, and I found it, and that's what we're going to do now. It's quite a lot of stuff here, but I'll see what we can do. Hang on. Oh, it's quite in depth, so we're going to crack on. We're going to crack on with this one. So more about this ash hole. That's the reason. It was so lots of the stuff we mentioned are more sort of like more recent. So okay, they're saying that even though it's a scheduled ancient monument, but instead of being hailed as a national treasure and properly excavated, this cave, cast as caves, have been abused by generations as a rubbish tip. They're saying treasure hunters have robbed it of Roman artifacts, and thieves have chiseled off all the fabulous stalagmites and stalactites. And apparently, this is where it comes in. Prehistoric mammoth and rhinoceros bones have actually been found in there. Now, we mentioned this guy, Darren Murray, didn't we? Because Darren Murray was the one who refound the other one at Brixham. This is the same bloke. Darren Murray is campaigning to have gates erected at the entrance to protect it from further harm, and wants it designated as a site of special scientific interest, like nearby Kent's Cavern in Torquay could have been home to the oldest humans in Europe. The cavern is owned by Torbay Council and monitored by Torbay Coast. It is historically important, and it needs to be protected. The cavern will retain archaeological environmental information, which will be informative about the lives of those who would have used it throughout the past. Darren believes the caves are of international importance. The limestone floor washed in during the last ice age remains intact, meaning that 30 or 40 feet below may be the remains of evidence that is far greater and far older than anything that Kent's Cavern offers. And that bloke there is actually David Murray himself. I've just cross-referenced this image. There is evidence of human habitation since Neolithic times. But when we did that whole thing about this one then about Ash Hole, we did all that. It mentioned nothing at all about ancient mammoth bones or ancient woolly rhinoceros bones, but this does. This does, amazingly enough. The floor is still solid. Everything before that lies preserved beneath that floor. So what you're seeing there, which hasn't been mucked around with, is solid. The exciting thing is we don't know until it's excavated exactly what is there. The amazing thing is that everything is intact until the Ice Age, when the limestone ran through the caves and formed the floor and sealed everything before that underneath. So it's one ancient tradition is that one passage beneath the cave leads all the way 4 miles to a place known as Kingswear. And I think that's what the passage we were describing was trying to be found in the 1830s. It was named Ash Hole, meaning a receptacle for the ashes of the dead, because it was once used as a sepulchre, as proved by a 20 feet deep shaft full of human skeletons, charcoal, ash, and broken Roman urns. So in other words, they were referring to it as Ash Hole because of the cremated remains that have been found in there. We mentioned Henry Light. Light, here we go. didn't mention this. Light came along in the 1830s. Very amateurish way. They investigated the caves. He was the one who discovered the woolly rhinoceros's bones and the woolly and the mammoth bones. We didn't read that earlier on. They didn't know about Neanderthal man. The theory of evolution was believed to be the theory of evolution later on was believed to be against God, and they wanted to keep everything proper. So it needs a proper excavation. We haven't mentioned Pangeli either, have we? I'm not. Yeah, Pangeli actually excavated in this cave as well. Pangeli got very far before Pangeli got very far with his research into Ashhole. He was diverted to Kent's Cavern. So in other words, he just his research moved, and this is where we got with Kent's Cavern. So before he could actually do any more work here, before he could actually, so in other words, Goff, this could have been Kent's Cavern.
Right.
This would have been Kent's Cavern, but he wasn't allowed to continue working here because he was funded to do work at Kent's Cavern between 1865 and 1880. So in other words, all the work that could have been done here was stopped. And look at that. That looks fantastic, doesn't it? And we're going to have a look at a few more images of this before we finish today. The problem with Ashhole is it's been used as a rubbish dump, and it's full of rubbish. But what he's saying is that what is special here is that we are really lucky that the floor is intact. And I've not come across this. Oh God, I've not come. We're gonna have to go with what this guy's saying. This Murray bloke, you know, because he seems to have refound lots of these things in the past 3 years. He's saying that alongside cave lion and hyena, remains of panther have been found. Panther, that's a first on me. And he's saying, right, that the panther, hyena, and the I think it's the cave lion because it says it's a lion, would have lived here in warmer weather or spells where there were warmer weather. I've not come across panther being found in Britain at all. That's completely new on me. Apart from the large main chamber, there are several smaller chambers which extended downwards into the rock. One has a large quantity of loose rock within it. And this chamber also extends upwards to a small chamber underneath which a ladder helps gain access. This chamber has number inscriptions in the flowstone covering its walls, which date back to the 1920s. Fair enough. What I want to do is draw attention to it. It's a fully fledged limestone cavern dating from exactly the same time as Kent's Cavern, and yet the only people who really know about it are a handful of locals. And do you know what? I'm actually inspired to contact this bloke to see if we could organise a trip down there and he could show us all these places. That would be absolutely fabulous. Right. So okay. So what I want us to do, I think we've actually done really well today. We finished a bit early today. Actually, I just want to see what other images. This is what we're saying. This is one of the fissures in Ashhole that hasn't been explored. So it's a bit like Dalarogoff, really. And this is what it looks like. Look at the colour of the rock there. It's absolutely amazing. So we mentioned that there was 70 feet of deposits, even more inside the cave. And looking up that again. And this is the one that they used in the newspaper. There he is. So all those deposits there are incredible. I think this is absolutely unbelievable to see this. I didn't know this existed until I knew I've mentioned Ashhole, but I'd not actually knew that anything like this was here. This is amazing, absolutely amazing. And there's a nice bit of text there that we can't exactly read, which is a shame. And this, Ash Hole. This is the one in Brixham itself. Oh, hang on. Now that's hang on a minute. Just move the phone a minute. It's too sensitive. That's actually the one in Brixham where Pangeli excavated, and this was the one that was excavated in 1858. This is the one that we keep talking about in Brixham, but obviously, and that closed in 1977. But again, these beautiful images. If we go to there, that's amazing. And maybe we'll organise some type of event down there. We were going to do another cave today called Swanscombe, but that's blown my mind all that today. I'm going to have to digest it as well. You are my guinea pig today, Goff. So you can actually, if you've got anything you would like to sort of add to it, any suggestions, I would be very grateful.
I've nothing to add apart from
Cool.
I don't suppose there's any mention there of artwork in the cave.
Do you know what? We've nothing like that at all, because it really hasn't been investigated properly.
Okay. Yeah.
That's basically the answer to that question. It hasn't really been given the research that it deserves. And this is what our chap Darren Murray is talking about. It's not really been it's not the same as Kent's Cavern, because nobody has actually everyone's been obsessed with this Kent's Cavern place, and they haven't really been looking into this one. So yeah, one thing that would be really great is to actually see a map of where all these different things were. What I am going to do is I'm going to take that image away, and I'm going to type in this, because I might be typing in the wrong thing. Hang on, it's a very sensitive. This is palaeolithic site map Britain. We don't want them in the world, do we?
Not at the moment.
No, we don't want to do that. Particularly Ukraine. Right. So there's a few maps there. If we go with that there, it all seems to be elsewhere, doesn't it? Oh, hang on. There's a nice one. See, it's showing Kent's Cavern there. You see, but it's only showing the one site. And it's only showing the one. Yeah, I think I need to put my own little thing together. Actually, as you're a guinea pig this week, right? I want to try out another bit of technology. We're gonna try out something else a minute whilst you're still there. Because on this little gadget, right, it's got something called we had to download it. It's a PowerPoint. So you can set these off as like I was doing with the other computer, but like I was doing with the other one, but it wasn't exactly working right. Hang on, PowerPoint. I can't see it. Nope, it's not there. Hang on, I'll get it in a minute. If not, we don't succeed. Do you know, my mum used to say every day I used to get better and better. That's what she used to say. Hang on a minute. Right, okay, so PowerPoint. There it is. Oh, I'd have to sign in. Oh, bugger. All right, then we'll forget that for today. Right, so what I'm gonna ask, have you got any other questions, Goff?
No questions apart from that art thing. But I would say that the quality of your new phone is very good. Money well spent.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So you could see me in my full glory.
Yeah. Great.
There you go. You know, you can even see the hugeness of my nose.
I can see all your huge bits.
You can see all my huge bits. Yeah. Thanks for that. That's really enticing into the moment. So okay then. Well, if there's no other questions, well, I won't be seeing you next week then.
All the week after.
Not the week after. So that's
I'll be there. I'll be back. Unless I log in, I don't know. I might log in.
well, you can always log in and say hello.
Yes. I'll see. Oh, we'll see what's happening.
What you could do is you could say to Eleanor, right? You can do the driving, and then you could do that.
Could do. We'll see.
That might work.
As my father used to keep saying to me, we'll see.
Oh yeah, and you know what? It never happens, does it?
No, exactly.
Do you know? My mum taught me two things, right? And they conflicted, right? She used to say, "Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today."
Yes.
Right? I think that's quite a good philosophy, right?
Yes.
But if ever I'd asked my mum to do something, she'd always say no. So I started to learn that if I took on her first bit of advice, right, and just did it, yeah. Which is unfortunately something that I've learned later on in life, which is a bit of a shame. And my granddad used to have a very similar philosophy. He used to say that always take the first opportunity, never wait till the next opportunity because it will never arrive, right? And I tell you what, my granddad was very, very right.
Yes,
And actually, what's that?
he was a wise old man.
He was a very wise old man, right? And also something about wisdom, right? My granddad used to say, "Where there's shit, there's brass," right?
Absolutely right.
And I'm not joking, right? It's
He's
a
right.
couple of days ago, we had advertised on eBay 2 kilograms of ground up sheep shit, right? And we sold a 2 kilogram bag for £14.40.
There you go. Sitting on a gold mine.
And you know what? My granddad was completely right on both accounts. He nailed it every time.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're going to call that a day. Hopefully you will be in touch. Keep us updated.
Yeah, I will do.
Keep us updated, and I will no doubt look forward to speaking to you when you get back. And thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm glad you like the new technology. It's very clear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Okay.
Good.
See you shortly.
Thank you very much, Goff. See you shortly.
Bye,
Take care. Give my love to Alan and everybody, and Eleanor. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 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 Take care. Bye. So that's Goff gone today. So anyone on there, don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't know, there was only a couple of you there, which is fine. And that's all good stuff. Don't forget to join me at Patreon, I think. Anyway, I'm gonna call that a day. And thank you very, 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 very much. And I don't know how to end this. If you leave me there. I can't end it. I don't know what to end the bloody thing. There's like a thing on it, I don't want that, right? I can't get it off. Stop going.